Hey everybody, Livingston here. Today we're jumping into another episode of the Twilight Zone. This time it's Season 2, Episode 13, Back There. It came out January 12th, 1961, and it's another one I haven't watched before. But before we get started, let's jump into the comments section and see what you had to say about last week's episode. Akira Kurosawa says, Thomas Gomez was great at playing sinister/evil characters. I agree. He actually did a very good job. I didn't like him for the majority of the actual episode until you get to about the end, when he starts seeing the error of his ways and starts giving back to the community, basically the children that were coming up and wanting that money that was coming out of his pockets that he got basically from swindling that guy who bought some magic, dirt or dust or sand, in order to get his kid off of death row. In the end, it ended up being magic dust because the guy ended up getting off and he walked away with his family, and he had to live with the burden of knowing that he killed somebody, even though it was an accident, but he was drunk. So in the end, it was kind of his issue. So it stinks, but it is what it is. Well, that's it for the comments section, and let's jump into the actual show and see what we're getting into.
The Twilight Zone.
Potomac Club. Some cards. Poker?
That if it were possible for a person to go back in time, there'd be nothing in the world to prevent him from altering the course of history.
Oh, that's Russell Johnson. He was the doctor from Gilligan's Island.
It's October 1929, the day before the stock market crashed. Securities are going to tumble into an abyss.
Yeah.
There's 100 things you could do to protect yourself. You could sell out the day before the crash.
Now, history tells us that on October 24th, 1929, the bottom fell out of the stock market. It exists as an event in the history of our times. It can't be altered.
And I say it can.
Huh.
Four intelligent men talking about an improbable thing like going back in time. Could a human being change what has happened before? Because this is the Twilight Zone.
Yes, it is. Back in time.
Gentlemen, I'm afraid I'm going to have to leave time travel to H.G. Wells. Time, I find the whole blame subject much too theoretical anyway. Good night, gentlemen.
Good night, Pete.
See you tomorrow.
So long, Corrigan.
See you later. Well, I know that a lot of scientists today say that time travel is not possible unless you're going the speed of light. In that respect, you can go away from the Earth and come back, and the Earth will somehow at that point, I don't know the entire science behind it, but it'll be in the future at that point. We can't go back. That's what a lot of scientists say. We cannot go back in time. We can go forward, but that's the only way we can go. Basically, if you want to time travel from this day on going towards the future, it's a one-way trip. But what they said 100 years ago was considered science fiction and what we think of as reality today. So, okay, he's getting dizzy. Something's going on. Oh, we have gone back in time, ladies and gentlemen. Gas lanterns. Even changed his attire.
Home, that's it. I'll go home. I'll go home.
Well, that's gas. I would say it's the 1800s. Horse-drawn carriages. I hear the stomping of horses. There's one horse-drawn carriage. Rooms to let. Very dramatic music in this episode.
All right. Have a bit of patience. I'm coming.
Who goes there?
It's number 19 12th Street.
That's right. Whom do you wish to see?
Boom.
This used to be the oldest building in this part of town.
Nope, you're speaking weird stuff, man.
I can't stand around all evening talking about silly things like which is the oldest building in the section.
Do you have a room?
Yes, I have rooms for acceptable boarders. Good evening. Off to the play?
Yes, dinner at Willis, and then off to the play.
Applaud the president for me.
We'll certainly do that.
Uh-oh, the president. A play.
What did you say? She just said something to you about the president. She told me to applaud him.
Which army were you in?
Well, I was in
The Union.
of the Republic, of course. You're going to a play tonight? What theater? What play?
Well, Ford's Theater, of course.
Uh-oh, it's that night.
Play, the one you're going to tonight at Ford's Theater. What's it called?
The one that Lincoln was watching when he died.
Our American cousin. And it's April 14th, 1865, isn't it?
Yes, it is. A lot of bad things happen in April.
It is April 14th, 1865.
Yep, the night Lincoln gets killed. He dies on April 15th. But I do remember that even other bad things happen on April 15th. Can anyone guess? On April 15th, 1912, the Titanic also went down.
He tried to pound his way right through the stage door, yelling some sort of nonsense about President Lincoln's going to be shot.
President Lincoln will be shot tonight at the theater. A man named Booth.
And how would you be knowing this?
If I told you how, I knew you wouldn't believe me.
You should have just made something up, like, I overheard a plan and I didn't like what they were saying.
But according to men around him, a man named John Wilkes Booth is going to assassinate him tonight.
These guys don't believe him. Hey, is that Johnny?
Wellington, Sergeant. Jonathan Wellington.
And what can we do for you, Mr. Wellington?
Mr. Corrigan, I believe you said his name was?
Uh-huh.
I wonder if he might be remanded in my custody.
Uh-oh.
You say you want us to remand him in your custody?
Precisely. I think perhaps I might be able to help him.
Have Corrigan brought back in here. This gentleman's going to look out for him.
Have him brought out to me, if you would.
I don't trust this guy at all. I feel like he looks just like John Wilkes Booth. Wilkes Booth had the mustache. He was an actor, and he kind of comes off as not law enforcement to me.
He seems so positive, sir, so sure about the president, I mean.
And what should we do?
Look into it.
I'd be considerable more thoughtful in sizing up a situation, or you'll not advance in the next 20 years.
Sergeant, it wouldn't hurt if... Well, I only meant to suggest, sir, that if perhaps we placed an extra guard in the box with the president...
The whole federal army's at his disposal. And so should you.
Law enforcement who skip out on the job.
Here. Try this.
What is it? Poison? A lot of people say liquor's poison.
Better?
So much more. Can I have the whole bottle, please?
Apparently, your only friend. I'm in the government service. But as a young man in college, I dabbled in medicine of a sort. Medicine of the mind.
Psychology.
Psychiatrist.
Know the term.
It's not been invented yet.
This story you were telling about the president being assassinated. 7:30. Play doesn't begin for another 3/4 of an hour. What gave you the idea the president would be assassinated? You have a premonition?
It was an omen.
Lincoln will be assassinated unless somebody tries to prevent it. I happen to know for a fact that a man named John Wilkes Booth will assassinate President Lincoln in his box at Ford's Theater. Suddenly, I feel faint. I feel weak.
Uh-oh.
As if you were what?
Suddenly drunk, or I've never... You devil, you drugged me, didn't you?
Yep, I knew it.
Please, you've got to believe me. Lincoln will be shot tonight.
And that's odd.
Are you the one that's going to shoot him?
Because I'm beginning to believe you. Rest well.
Must warn the president.
Somebody, please, let me out.
It's just not going to happen, man. You should have been smarter with how you state things to people who live in the past. Make up some excuse. Say that you overheard something. No. Oh, dear God.
Are you all right? What's happened?
You've got to tell me what time it is.
It's 10 o'clock. You may be a madman or a drunk or I don't know what, but you've got me convinced.
Find out where he's sitting and get right up alongside of him. You'll be shot from behind. He was shot from behind. That's how it happened.
Don't speak in past tense.
Where's the man who brought me here? Where's Wellington?
There is no Wellington.
There's no one here by that name.
Uh-oh. John Wilkes Booth. I knew it.
Mr. John Wilkes Booth, who lives in this room. And that's who brought you here.
And that's why he drugged me. He didn't want me to stop it. He's the one who's going to do it. Please, you've got to stop him.
Shot! An actor shot Lincoln.
Uh-oh. It's already happened.
You are, oh my dear God.
Couldn't imagine how I would feel if the president died. Like Kennedy was assassinated.
Why didn't you listen to me?
Oh, we're back. Guys, I went back in time. It's crazy.
Good evening, Mr. Corrigan. Did you forget something?
Lost my mind.
I thought you forgot something.
A moment ago. Where's William?
There's no one here named William, sir.
Uh-oh. Something changed.
We're talking about the best ways of amassing a fortune. What are your tried and true methods?
You're not going to believe what happened to me, fellas.
But going back in time.
Oh, well, we're on a new tack now.
I've got something to tell you.
You all right?
It's been an off night.
William here has the best method.
William?
Oh, yes, my method for achieving security is by far the best. You simply inherit it. My great-grandfather was on the police force here in Washington the night of Lincoln's assassination.
Oh.
How he figured it out, nobody seems to know. It's certainly not recorded anyplace. He became chief of police, did some wheeling and dealing in land, and became a millionaire.
Interesting.
Well, gentlemen, shall we get back to our bridge? What was it you wanted to say, Corrigan?
I'm the reason you're rich.
William, didn't you used to work here as an attendant?
Wow.
I was a member of this club while you were still going to prep school. I really must protest.
Wow. I didn't see that one coming. The one little change.
In the matter of time travel, gentlemen, some things can be changed. Others can't.
Acting so strangely.
What's the matter with him?
It happened. He's got the proof in his hands.
Mr. Peter Corrigan lately returned from a place back there, proving on one hand that the threads of history are woven tightly. There are small fragments of tapestry that can be altered in the Twilight Zone.
I like that. That was a good one. Well, that was the end of this episode. I thought it was a very good one. I really enjoyed it. It kind of threw me through a loop at the very end when it all kind of came to the fruition that the guy that served him at the beginning of the show was actually the guy who was the rich one sitting in the chair amongst all his pals there at the end. And just those little circumstances there where he spilt the coffee on him, as well as the police officer who was related to the guy that was sitting in that chair. Due to him having all those moments back in that era, it changed the future in some way, just not in the way that he wanted to. And that's where I was thinking about the entire time. It's like, if you're going to go back in time, you can't go around and saying everybody, hey, it's going to happen. Lincoln's going to get shot in the back of the head. You need to do something about it because I know, because I'm from the future. It's like, no, you can't do that. You need to have like some kind of logical story and state like, hey, look, I overheard this guy, John Wilkes Booth, talking about how he's going to shoot the president. You need to look into it. He said he's going to do it at this time, at this theater, and you need to put like more security out in the hallway or something. Didn't happen. He ended up dying, and that's how that argument came out, where it was like a fixed point in time where it's not going to be changed. But I feel like he could have changed it if he just went at it from a different perspective. But I mean, when you're thrown back in time and you're just unsure of how things are going and what things and why he's even there in the first place, I can see being kind of flustered and just getting straight to the point saying, look, I know this is going to happen. Listen to me and just follow my rules and my guidelines and the president won't be shot. But in what way would the country itself be different if we saved Kennedy? If Lincoln was saved. But same thing. If Kennedy or Lincoln or anything that was changed in the past ended up being changed, how would it affect the future? In what way would things be different today in comparison to if they actually survived? I mean, it's just, fun to think about, I guess. It would make for an interesting take on society as a whole and how things would be, how things would basically evolve from this one person, this one central person in our history being alive or being dead. And just, it's interesting to think about for sure. But let me know, comment below what you think of this episode. I'd really like to know your thoughts. And let's jump into some trivia and see what it took to get this episode off the ground. This is the second episode of The Twilight Zone involving time travel in which Russell Johnson, who plays Peter Corrigan, appears. Peter Corrigan mentions H.G. Wells in relation to his story, The Time Machine, which had also just been made into a movie the year before this episode was made. This episode, which concerns the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, originally aired on January 13th, 1961, only 1 week before the inauguration of U.S. President John F. Kennedy. The assassination of JFK later had a direct impact on The Twilight Zone, as Night Call, which was to have aired on November 22nd, 1963, which was rescheduled for February 7th, 1964. It also served as the basis of Profile in Silver, Button, 1986. Well, that's it for this episode. Be sure to comment down below and let me know your thoughts on this episode. Next week, I will go over those actual comments from you and discuss the episode further. And while you're at it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to continue on this voyage to episode 156 of The Twilight Zone. And until next time, see you later.